B-Boy News, and 2020 is finally over, so we thought we'd have a look back at the year that kind of wasn't. Despite all the craziness that happened in 2020, 2020 at least gave us a good Red Bull BC1 competition. And the good news for us over in Japan is that Shigekix finally won Red Bull BC1. Now, I've been saying that Shigekix has the potential to do it for a while, but I gotta be honest, I thought it would be maybe a year or two longer. So this is absolutely amazing, and it's great to see someone that I know personally win Red Bull BC1. And to be honest, it's nice to also see a Red Bull BC1 competition that wasn't super controversial. Like, I think most of you would probably agree with me that Shigekix pretty clearly won most of his battles. And even the final I thought was pretty clearly Shigekix 2-1. So, you know, great competition, good stuff, and a great result for Japan. Our second Red Bull BC1 champion after, of course, B-Boy Issei, who took it, with this incredibly handsome guy in the crowd cheering him on. On the other hand, there were quite a few disappointments in 2020. Of course, 2020 itself being one of them. Now, one of these, of course, was Harricane versus Hong-Ten. Now, for those that don't know, this was billed as like the awesome clash of two cultures. On the one hand, you've got Taiwan, which is coming up in the scene. It's, you know, it's the new dog on the block. It's got a lot of promising up-and-coming b-boys. Then, on the other side, you've got Korea, which has a very established scene. Hong-Ten, of course, one of the most recognisable b-boys from there. Now, how could this go wrong? Well, unfortunately, Harricane didn't quite realise what had bitten off. He decided to go for incredibly short rounds, like some of them so short that as I was writing the round length, the round finished. And as we said in our video, there were many times when the ring girl herself was actually out longer than Harricane himself was. Now, we're not mad at this tactic. We've used it ourselves to try and tire out those crews that just insist on going for power moves, you know, get them tired. Later on, they're going to crash. But just make sure you know your opponent, because Hong-Ten is not that guy. Now, one thing that has the potential to be very positive or very negative is, of course, breaking coming to the Olympics, meaning a b-boy and a b-girl competition at the very highest level. Now, I'll be honest, speaking as a guy who went to the final Olympics qualifier, I gotta say it wasn't all that great. A lot of the atmosphere was missing, the music wasn't the best because they had to clear all the samples. It was very much a work in progress. But we've got 4 years, so hopefully by that point we can sort out all of these problems. The second thing was that the event attracted a lot of people who didn't really understand the moves and really understand what was going on. And it led to this very weird atmosphere where people were blowing up for things that they shouldn't and completely dismissing stuff that was absolutely insane. So it was a very, very weird vibe. But that's not necessarily such a bad thing, because one thing that breaking does need is to bring in people who otherwise wouldn't be exposed to the scene. We need to get rid of that image of breaking being this old thing that's out of fashion. Now, one of the big problems with breaking being announced for the Olympics was it brought out all the old stereotypes. And that's something that as a community we need to move beyond and think of solutions for. So obviously every newspaper and magazine wrote an article about breakdance and showed images of Boogaloo Shrimp or so one of these 80s guys. And so this is both a good and a bad thing, because on the one hand it allows hopefully us to take control of the message. But on the other hand, we have to be careful because the message is being taken out of our hands. So for example, Guardian wrote a thing and they interviewed a squash player about breaking in the Guardian by a guy who had no knowledge of dance whatsoever. And the squash player basically went off on this big rant about how whack b-boying was and it had no right to be at the Olympics and stuff like that. Now, that's very dangerous because The Guardian's a big newspaper and it mostly appeals to the older demographic in the UK. And suddenly all of these 30 to 50-year-olds are reading about how our dance is played out, how it's nothing. And this is just a terrible, terrible example. And I could pretty much close my eyes and choose any magazine or any publication just for stupid angles, ridiculous stories, things that made no sense, taking away our power as dancers. And so what we have to do is teach people. And we have to stick up for our dance, because previously when people have been like, breaking's whack, it's played out, it's some 80s stuff, I've just been like, yeah, whatever. But from now on, I think I'm going to actually have to be like, no. Like, what you think of as breaking is that. It's played out. It's useless. No one's into that anymore. But we have a whole new scene. We have a whole new look. We're more musical now. We're more creative. There's massive levels to it. And I think that's what we have to communicate to people now. Now, one other thing that I have to say about the Olympics is a lot of B-boys and B-girls are assuming that once we get to the Olympics, that's it. They're going to be like Jay-Z, rolling in millions, drinking out of a cup covered in diamonds and stuff like this. But no, that's not the case. Unfortunately, at the time being, breaking is going to be a minor sport at the Olympics. I don't want it that way. I hope breaking gets big, and I want to see Shigekix pimping it out, riding around in the lowrider with the fat beats. If that day comes true, I'm amazingly happy when Shigekix just throwing dollars in the air. But to be honest, it's probably not going to happen. A lot of sports at the Olympic level, and especially the minor sports, remain very, very amateur. Like, case in point, a lot of the guys you see on the Olympics, they have part-time jobs. Google it, and probably your favourite Olympic athlete, that guy who you thought was amazing in fencing or karate or whatever. The Olympic has been a good source of some money, but it's not like this amazing thing that changed their lives. So, on the one hand, hopefully it will lead to that, and we'll see a lot more legitimacy to the real dancers. But on the other hand, dancers need to be well aware of what it is that they're actually going to get out of the Olympics. And for most of them, it will be a chance to be seen and a chance for our dance to be better understood by people outside the community. Now, the move online may not necessarily be 100% a bad thing, because it's opened up a lot of opportunities for people to study with people all around the world. It's also allowed online scenes to develop. So, for example, up-rocking or rocking, that scene has really taken off recently. Like, there's whole groups dedicated to rockers, and we're finding out that the scene's a lot bigger than perhaps some of us expected. And for guys like me, it's kind of built up my passion for that dance again. So, I go into my burning and all this. So that's a good thing. And also, it's opened up a lot of opportunities for people to make money in ways they'd never expected before. Now, what this means is hopefully B-boys have multiple streams of income coming in. And so they don't have to rely on one thing. Like, if the judging dries up, they can move into teaching. If teaching dries up, they can move into online. If online dries up, they can move into advertising and promoting through their Instagram and Twitter and things like this. So what we're really hoping is that this is a sign that B-boys will become portfolio artists, making money from many, many different ways. And hopefully this will lead to more opportunities to study with the OG B-boys. Like, I've heard guys like Wicket, I've heard Kazuhiro, I've heard all these guys have moved their classes online, which is just an excellent opportunity to dance with these guys. So, yeah, the coronavirus has sucked, and it sucks to not have these events where we can go and call each other out and battle guys and, discover other people's styles that we didn't know before. But on the other hand, hopefully this is a sign that B-boys will be able to make a living, not just from dance, but from a whole wide range of things, and become very well-rounded people and well as B-boys and B-girls. Now, you've probably noticed this is a little bit more serious than my usual B-boying years, and that's because unfortunately we have to get into our final topic, which is some serious allegations that have been levelled at Crazy Legs. Now, as people know, Crazy Legs is pretty much one of the biggest icons in dance. If you ask people to name a B-boy, probably the first B-boy they'll name is Crazy Legs himself. And that's because he's become more or less ubiquitous with the dance. Now, one of the problems is that when we put one person in that position of power, it gives them a chance to use that power badly. And unfortunately, that seems to be what Crazy Legs has done. And it's caused a lot of his friends to turn against him. Just right now, we're just going to go through some of the opinions. And as you can see, there's a broad range of opinions from people who are somewhat understanding, all the way to people who just think this is it, zero tolerance, we need better leaders, basically. So what's my opinion? Well, probably my opinion's closest to Techniques is. Now, for those who don't know, Techniques is a legendary footwork B-boy. And the kind of clues in the name represents the East Coast of America, very, very strong b-boy. Now, he thinks that what we have to do is we have to look at this and say, this is a chance to get new leaders and to expand beyond our current leaders. Now, just because someone's OG, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the right direction and this is the way we should talk about things. For guys like myself, I've always been critical of Crazy Legs. Back in the days, we had the UK B-Boy Championships and we had a fashion parade. And the fashion parade was just basically Crazy Legs just leching over women. It was very, very misogynistic and nasty. But I think as a scene, we're past that now. And we need to say that if we're going to move to the Olympics and if we're going to make a bigger name for ourselves and make our dance worldwide, then we have to move past accepting these kind of things. We can't just say, oh, that's the way it is. He's OG, so therefore he can do X, Y, and Z. We have to say, no, that's not the direction that we want b-boying to go in. That's not how we want b-girls to be treated. Anyway, that's my hot take on it. It's a very, very difficult topic, and as you can see, there's been a broad range of reactions. One of the biggest, of course, being Why Not leaving Rocksteady Crew, which, as most people know, Why Not pretty much was Rocksteady Crew for a long time. So, that's my good and bad in 2020. Some really, really tough stuff. Talking about the Olympics, talking about Crazy Legs is very, very tough. So what I'd like to hear is, what do you think? How hard should we come down on Crazy Legs now that pretty much we can assume that this accusation is well-founded? What do you think about the Olympics? Do you agree with me that dancers have maybe got their hopes up a little bit too high as to what opportunities the Olympics will bring? Or can you see that basically any attention on our dance, even negative attention like The Guardian, is a good thing for our dance? So please let me know in the comments, and I really love to hear from all the b-boys and the b-girls, and it's just been amazing because one good thing about 2020 is it's made me feel part of the community because a lot of people have been posting comments, even the ones where they completely troll me. It's all love. Troll me if you want. I'm cool with that. It's no problem at all. Please comment, please like and subscribe, and please let me know what you think because some craziness this year, like what the hell. Anyway guys, this is B-Boy Florangel signing out. Peace.